favorite career optimization consultant, back with you yet again. Come on in, have a seat, come join us. Let me check my hair over here. Y'all see my hair? And we've been breaking up lately. We haven't been getting along very much recently. Hi, Jody. How you doing? Thank you for joining. So, welcome to week 3 of our Creating Our Collegiate Game Plan. I know I'm on just a little bit early. I wanted to take an opportunity to recap some of the things we talked about. I know we have about 2 minutes, so I want to just recap a couple of things that we talked about. From week 1, we talked about the importance of good study habits and some COVID-related advice. We talked to those who are going in person as well as online. Some of those things, I know we've been told that I'm great. How are you doing, Jody? I'm so glad you could join us. And we wanted to make sure that students are not going crazy. I know people have been craving some social interaction, and just hoping that people are being safe. And I know I've heard about some colleges, some students that are, hi, how you doing, Strategic Coaching Lab? Thank you for joining us. I know we've been hearing about some college students that have been just literally jumping into the social scene. And while I know college is about networking and building some of those relationships, we definitely want to encourage everyone to be safe. Some of the other things we talked about is time management. Then we went on to week 2, and we talked about the importance of applying for scholarships and the fact that just because you're in college does not mean that you would stop applying for scholarships. Scholarships are literally everywhere. So join different organizations. And as you join organizations, look for scholarships from those different organizations. We talked about the importance of managing your brand and getting engaged with colleges and career services, with your professors, building relationships, a lot of that other stuff. So now we are entering week 3 and we are almost right at 1 o'clock. So I'm glad you all had the opportunity to join. Has this been helpful for any of you all? I'd love to hear from you on your feedback. I actually posted on IGTV. So if you didn't check out unfortunately the first week wasn't on there, but we were able to capture it last week. So feel free to check out our last one. And you can also follow the @Regional Consult page as well for more advice as well. And so we'll go ahead and jump into this week. Thank you for joining us. So one of the things that I wanted to say, I know a lot of students have been reaching out like, wait, you know what? This is all really good, but how do I actually study in college? And I said, one of the things that a lot of people really don't realize is that you have to find what works for you. And you must find your optimal study habits and how you study most effectively. For me, I'm a kinesthetic learner. And so I'm also a very auditory learner. So I had to actually take notes in class, but I had to write down my notes, and then I had to orally say the notes as well. So you have to find out what works well for you and find out what type of learner you are. And that's really important because that will help you, especially when it comes to test taking time as well. One of the other things that I wanted to really talk about and expand on today was the importance I know we talked about finding internships, which we will actually, please tell me I'm back in school now. It's a struggle at times. I'm all ears on this one. Okay, well, that's good. So a lot of times we find that it's important for us. Hi, Joseph, how you doing? Good to see you. A lot of times it is very difficult for us to kind of find how we study best. And so realize what you do. Sometimes you actually need music. There are some people that actually have to hear music and things that will allow them to focus. So if you find that you focus better when you're listening to music, hey, Flow Motion, good to see you. Oh, we dancing in here today too. And so find what works best for you. Find those methods and those strategies. Hi, Edna. Great to see you. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We're excited to have you all. So we were talking about, I received a question about some study habits and study tactics. So find what works best for you. Also, if you need to be in a quiet place, sometimes I also found that I needed to go to somewhere that was not my room because my room was a distraction in itself. It was too easy to access snacks, TV, phone, people coming knocking on the door like, hey girl, what you doing? So find what works best for you. And if there's something that you really love, for me, I'm a water person. So it would be great for me if you had a lake or something and you could actually go sit by a lake. Sometimes I do that even in my own subdivision, and I'll just go read a book by the lake because it will help me to gain focus. So find what works best for you and continue to do that. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is the importance of really beginning to build your resume right now. When you're in college is a time for you to actually be able to play out a lot of those things. People are more flexible with you. Employers are willing to overlook the fact that you don't have experience. People are willing to throw information at you for free oftentimes, because once you graduate, let me tell you, it's a hard life out here. When Jay-Z said, it's a hard knock life. Yeah, he was for real. So a lot of times once you graduate, like right now while you're in school, that's the opportunity to take advantage of all of those resources that people are trying to share with you, all of that knowledge. If they say, sit down with me, come in, have a seat, do it, because I'm telling you, college is the time when people are very flexible with you. And I oftentimes have to talk to employees about the importance of being willing to share information, because a lot of times that is not necessarily one of the things that people are willing to do once you get beyond college. And so definitely seek in all of those opportunities. Let me put this on mute. Seek those opportunities to glean from others. Take those opportunities. If people want to help you, if they want to be able to share insight with you, take advantage of that. And get engaged with them. I also talked about one of the things I know, those of you all who don't know me. So I wrote a book on writing writing resumes, what's called Master Your Career Playbook Resumes. I was actually looking at that for some insight to share with you all today as well. And I really had some good insight. I was like, girl, for real, you talked about that? Have you ever done one of those things where you read something that you wrote and you're like, wow, that was really good? And so some of the things that I was talking about, the importance of being a well-rounded student. It's not just about going to class and being able to get good grades. Employers really want to know, how did you manage your time? Were you active in organizations? And as you're doing those things, what you're doing is building your resume. And so take those opportunities to engage and to actually be active within your organizations and to be able to provide value. Hi, Larry Wayne. Great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Think about what you want to do and start being able to create that path. One of the things that I always tell people is that you're only as successful as your level of exposure. So if you're not exposed to much, you won't know very much in terms of opportunities that exist out there. And that's why a lot of times people are left behind, because we don't know quite what opportunities exist. And college is the time to explore that for yourself. So take the opportunity to work in different environments. If you are a junior or a senior, get internships now. Start looking right now as well. Go to career services. Go to your career services department. Guess what? They're sitting there waiting with a list of employers like, hey, y'all, who do you have for me today? Who do you have for me this week? Employers are literally going to your colleges waiting for you to come in and apply for these jobs. But a lot of times people go in unprepared. And when you go into career services, I know it's a casual environment and the colleges allow you to go in for interviews and things in different manners, and you can go in as if you would anywhere else. But I always say, dress for the part you want, not the part you have. If you're looking to get a job, go dress for that, go professionally dress so they can actually, career services can give you feedback on your attire as well. because the last thing you want to do is show up for an in-person interview and not have an employer tell you why you're not hired. And it could be because of your dress attire. So it's really important that you really tap into to the resources that you have at your disposal right now. Part of why I do what I do, I was actually years and years ago, I was in a situation where I was a recruiter, and I've recruited and placed across the employment spectrum. So I'm not telling you all this as a result of not knowing anything. I'm telling you this because, one, I lived it firsthand. I was that student that graduated without internships, that did not have real life experience, and I did not realize the value of some of the experience that I had. Hi, Vonnie Sweetland. Thank you so much for joining us. And, it's important for you to really tap into that right now. And so as you're doing your jobs, even as if let's say you're like, oh, well, I have to work because I've got to pay my bills. Well, I completely understand that because I was in that situation as well. But there are also things that you're getting from your job environment as well. You are, she got me a job in the oil field 11 years ago. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Congratulations. So that's what I love to hear. I was a recruiter, and I've had the opportunity to place people in different types of positions. But one of the things that people will oftentimes tell you is that I will try to train people, because when you get in there, it's nothing worse than sending a resume to an employer and then them ghosting you. You never hear back. You never know why they're not responding to you. And you're just sitting there like, wait, am I gonna get the job or not? Is my resume good enough, or what's my dress attire? And college is the time to get all of that advice. So I usually recommend go into career services as you would be dressed for an interview, because employers are not going to tell you when you walk in there. I once had a candidate come into an interview with a wife beater on. Okay, yes. A wife beater, and he had taco meat right here. Taco meat. I was like, wait a minute. It was so distracting. And do you think I said something to the job applicant? No, I didn't, because I couldn't. And that's not my job. He knew what he looked like. He knew what he looked like when he came in there. And so, as an employer, as a recruiter, you can't necessarily tell people the reason that they're not being hired, but in college is the time where you can get a lot of that advice. So sit down with those mock interviews, sit down so you can actually get that impact, get the information, and they can give you feedback on how you're interviewing. Also, when you're interviewing, don't just give regurgitations of your experience. Ask yourself, how is it what I have done right now? How is what I have done in my experience valuable for this position? So rather than just saying, like, for example, I was a public relations major, and I worked at a restaurant when I was in college. Well, how is that relevant? Well, the first person you see when you go into the door is the greeter, and the greeter will set the tone of your entire experience. Have you all ever gone into a restaurant or an environment and then someone like, good morning? You're like, oh, okay, nasty attitude, that already tells you your experience is going to be nasty. But when you go in with a positive atmosphere, you're setting that tone for the customer. You're setting what that experience is going to be like. That's what I did. And so I didn't know how to articulate that when I graduated, because I didn't sit down with my career services, and they never actually walked me through how to be able to identify the value out of what I was doing. And so I do want to recommend those that don't already have my book to definitely get it and read it, and then apply it, because there's a lot of good information in there, not just for college students, but for professionals as well. So I also wanted to mention the fact that, I know I just said people are more flexible while you're with you while you're in college. One of the things you also have to understand is your emergency is not everyone's emergency. So part of the reason that I'm telling you all these things now as we're in August is because a lot of times students wait until March, April, May, and then they're like, hurry up. I need to apply. Can you write me a recommendation letter? Can you do this? Can you do that? And they assume that their emergency is everyone's emergency. And so that's not the case. And so that's why you always have to be prepared and start preparing early. Don't wait until the deadline. Don't wait until it's, and until it's 2 months out. Don't wait until, you're graduating in a month. And by the time you actually get ready to get your paper, so for those seniors, you should already be applying for actual positions right now, not just for internships. Start applying for positions. A lot of my friends actually knew where they were going to be working before we even graduated. And I was at such a disservice because I didn't even know we had a career services. I mentioned that to you all before. But that goes back to my statement that an individual can only be as successful as their level of exposure. And I wasn't exposed to that previously, and I didn't know that existed. So why am I sharing this with you? Because I'm hoping that you will be able to take advantage of this information and be able to really integrate it into helping you to navigate and create your collegiate game plan. Because by doing so, you will not only have a more successful transition, but you will set yourself up for success. And by setting yourself up for success, you determine how far you go and what you will be doing. So I hope that this information has been helpful for you. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear feedback. I'd love to hear from those who, are also the professionals, because I see some HR professionals on here. I see some, hi, Charmaine, good to see you. Oh, wait, I used the name your mama gave you. I didn't use your screen name. I guess I should have done that. But yes, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate everyone tuning in today. We hope that this information has been valuable for you and that you will actually take the opportunity to implement it within your collegiate experience. There are so many things that will help you to build your career most effectively, but a lot of times it's about getting out of college and realizing that the transition to the professional sector is not quite as easy as we always assume. And so I know I was that naive as well. I thought once you get your paper, you get a job and you get your pick of litters and you have the opportunity to choose between all of these other opportunities. Well, if you're prepared, that can happen. But if you're unprepared, that's likely not going to be the case. And, hopefully you won't be part of, what happened with me. Jody said, it's a shame my oldest plays for Texas A&M football and they make the players go to resume workshops and mock interviews. They need to make it mandatory for all college students and high school, really. Absolutely. Because mock interviews give you the opportunity to have exposure to actual interviews and you understand how what you say is most important and articulating your value, because that's really what interviews are. And it's great that they only that they allow the athletes and encourage the athletes to go do mock interviews. They actually need to be doing that, not just for the football players, but for all students. They absolutely should make that mandatory. And that's why I'm encouraging all of the students here today to actually get involved and to do that. Because mock interviews can actually help to give you some insight that you would not otherwise receive. So, hope this information has been beneficial for you today. Feel free to share, and comment. Feel free to share this with your other networks as well. Follow us on @regionalconsult.com, @regionalconsult on Instagram. We're also on Facebook for those that feel like, oh, Facebook is for old people, but we also post scholarships on there. So last week we did post some scholarships for those that were interested. So feel free to go to our Facebook page as well to go check out those scholarship opportunities, which is @Regional Consult on Facebook as well. So I hope that this information has been insightful and that you've enjoyed our 15-minute short series today and that you will join us for next week's last session. So where we will be focusing for seniors. Yes, that will be dedicated to seniors. So your career optimization consultant, Juanita Hines, getting ready to sign out. Don't forget to set yourself up for success and don't wait for someone else to do it for you. Talk to you next week. Bye.